Hi everybody. So it's been a long time since I've made a video. There's a lot of reasons for this. I was just super busy because I was part of a wedding party for one of my best friends. I also got sick with COVID, which then screwed up my other health issues that I already have. So it's been a long last few months just recovering from my health, getting a lot of work at my job and doing wedding stuff. So I am so sorry about that. However, I'm happy to be back. I don't really know what sort of video routine or schedule I'll be able to keep up. Currently, I'm still kind of recovering from health issues. Like it's kind of an ongoing saga, and I need to prioritize, of course, my health before I do anything else. But simultaneously, I would love to keep posting videos. I do really care about this channel, and I appreciate all of you that have reached out to me in different capacities. That was really nice and sweet to hear from you all, and I am okay. It's just gonna take some time to get back into things. Now, to get started, this video is going to be about all the predictions I made before Cities Skylines 2 was announced. That was kind of like a crazy situation. It was just 2 or 3 days before the announcement. I made a video where I had all these predictions of what would be in Cities Skylines 2, and I was like, it's coming. It's gonna happen, and then they announced it. So we're just gonna go through line by line what my predictions were and whether or not that's the case in Cities Skylines 2. And I would like to give a big thank you to Colossal Order and Paradox for giving me early access to Cities Skylines. So anyways, without further ado, let's begin. So my first prediction was better graphics. I said that there was going to be higher resolution graphics from terrain texture to trees and buildings. This is true. The game can now run in 4K. Obviously, it's so close to being launched, and the dev team is still like tweaking things and pushing out updates and, optimizing the game. But this is generally true. The graphics are a lot better. I will say from a design standpoint, in terms of the creative direction and look of the game, the buildings are a lot better. Like if you think about Cities Skylines 1 with they had toy boxy looking models for buildings and vehicles. All of that is much more realistic now. I think that the designs are much more thought out. For example, with the low residential houses, they don't just copy and paste the same ones. They look slightly different. They have more parts that can be randomized to make something look unique. I also predicted better terrain manipulation. I said there was going to be smoother terrain transitions, less cliffs/edges, unless manually created. This isn't quite true. The terrain controls remain mostly the same. It no longer costs money or dirt. It seems slightly smoother to control, but buildings can still create the jarring edges. Also, don't mind me, I did make notes, so I'm just going through my notes right now. Yeah, I do think it is better. It's just not to the degree that I expected it to be for this game, but maybe that kind of comes with the territory. I don't know. You can still manipulate the terrain. It's just if you put a big building block on a slope, it will create that rough cliff. I also predicted that we would get better AI. So I said that there was going to be traffic accidents and collisions. This was confirmed in one of the very first dev diaries. We do have traffic accidents. They do affect the rest of traffic. It's a whole thing, and it's really cool. And the radio actually talks about the accidents that happen as well. I also predicted better lane distribution. And yes, this is also true. The pathfinding for vehicles is a lot better. It actually makes changes in real time to utilize the correct lanes, as well as just reroute the vehicle to get to the destination faster. I would say it is noticeably better. I also predicted bigger maps. The first being that you could have multiple cities on the same map. This is not exactly true, but it is. So I described that you could have multiple municipalities with different economies on the same map. But this is not true. They're one economy, one major city, but you can buy map tiles that are disconnected. You can create your own separate town or cities that are completely separated from your original starting tiles, and they can look like different cities, but they are technically part of the same economy. The vanilla map is also bigger. It's not bigger than the 81 tile mod from the Steam Workshop, but based off the experience of playing the game and looking at the map, it seems like mods might be able to eventually unlock the rest of the tiles, which would be a lot bigger than the original 81 tiles that we had in Cities Skylines 1. I also predicted seasons, and this this is true. It does exist. It seems like they're still working on making the seasons look perfect, but they do exist. And when you plant trees, they start as saplings and then take a whole year to grow to full maturity. I feel like this process coupled with seasons really does give the feeling of like a real time lapse when you're playing the game, which I appreciate. I also predicted some integration of old mod functionality. So I mentioned traffic manager, node controller, intersection marking tool, and maybe something similar to Move It. I can say that Colossal Order did hire some workshop mod developers to help develop Cities Skylines 2. It does seem like we have some integration so far, like the ability to replace traffic lights with stop signs, disable turning directions, etc. There are more road markings by default, and the game will auto-generate them when you place roads or modify intersections, but you can't adjust them manually, so it's not exactly a direct translation of intersection marking tool. I should also note that you can, with advanced road, I think it's called advanced road tools, which is one of the development point upgrades you can get in the tree. You can add trees to like either side of the street or bus lanes or whatever, and you can kind of like modify each road individually like that, which is definitely really cool and an improvement over Cities Skylines 1. But I will say I'm still looking for more from that. There's some things that, like, for example, it'd be cool to add fences or to be able to change the type of tree that does line the roads. I anticipate a lot of the new features and systems that we get in Cities Skylines 2 are built in the way that they are so that they can be further developed and expanded upon later on with updates, but I guess only time will tell. It also no longer costs money to move buildings, and there's some flexibility in placing them, but not as much as Move It. I also predicted there would be a cinematic mode where we can control the time of day for video or screenshots, where gameplay is paused, animations continue for video mode. Now, I actually don't know if gameplay is paused when you do cinematics, but there is a cinematic mode. They did create a whole entire mode. You can actually, there's like a whole video tool where you can put like camera placements and have it track for the video. You can definitely adjust the time of day and weather conditions and a lot of camera settings like focal distance. So, and there's filters, I think. So there's lots you can do for that, and that definitely exists in Cities Skylines 2. I also predicted better editor tools in game and the ability to port CS1 assets into CS2. We cannot port CS1 assets into CS2 because of the way the new game scales, as well as the fact that they moved from using Steam Workshop to Paradox mods. It's just the way it is. We will be getting one unified editor for maps and assets in game. That is something that is still being developed and will be available in an update after launch, so we can look forward to that. I predicted that we would get more custom buildings, so let me break that down. I said that we were going to have the ability to fine-tune buildings similar to the procedural objects mod, so change their colors, layout, etc. We cannot do this currently. I predicted better organization of types of buildings in game and from the workshop, drop-down tool in the menu. The menu is very similar to Cities Skylines 1, but there is slightly better categorization. There isn't a drop-down tool, but the way that things are set up definitely makes sense, and because of the advanced road tools and ways to change roads like that, we're going to see a lot less clutter in the menus going forward. I predicted modular buildings similar to SimCity 4. This does exist. We can now have modular service buildings that can be upgraded, and we have flexibility when placing annex buildings. So for example, the high school, we can put down a sports center, and that can be placed kind of like, there's like a perimeter around the school where you can place additional facilities, but you can put them wherever within that perimeter, so you can get some unique layouts even if you place the same building more than once. And it also is cool because it lets you like increase like the amount of students that can go to school. In addition, with industries and garbage, you can now use nodes to zone areas in irregular shapes for like farm plots and landfills. This has been a pretty significant change, I think, and it makes it look a lot more realistic, and it's kind of fun to do. I also predicted the ability to adjust distance from roads, like literally just increase the offset from like a building to a road, and this is not possible. That just doesn't exist. I predicted mid-density buildings in general, more gradation of density. Yes, this is true. We have mid-density row homes, mid-density regular buildings, mixed-use mid-density buildings, and low-income mid-density. So there's a lot more variation now in the types of buildings, and because we have mid-density overall, it allows for more gradation among the city. I also predicted that we would get different density tools, not just density density of population, but also density of buildings around each other? Like, no, but kind of. Like I said, there's mid-density row homes. These obviously create a much different feel compared to mid-density regular like apartment buildings. So like yes and no, it's kind of true, kind of not. I predicted better districts, so simplified district styles tools, so like Korean buildings, eco, self-sufficient, organic produce, etc. We do not know yet if there will be district styles. That's just not in the game yet. Maybe in the future. And then the other thing was expanded district function applied to schools, harbors, government complexes, etc. So when I originally made the prediction, I was saying that this would be something similar to like the parks district, where we could like make an amusement park and have like a zone, or like how we did the universities with the university DLC to create a campus and then put buildings inside of it that are part of it. No, that does not currently exist in game. However, we did get a new district function where we can actually zone service buildings to operate within a district. So you can do that with schools, with fire houses, with police, why am I forgetting the names? Police stations, all of those things. You can have them attached to specific zones, kind of similar to Planet Zoo when you have assigned like work areas for zookeepers. I predicted better roads, so ability to change road textures like the way it exists for pedestrian roads in Cities Skylines 1. Currently, this does not exist. Maybe it'll come in the future. It currently doesn't exist. We do have pedestrian roads in the base game for CS1, so that, or for Cities Skylines 2, so that is great. We just don't have the road textures at the moment. I predicted exit lanes. Yes, this is super easy to do in Cities Skylines 2. And you can even make like passing lanes and stuff like that if you wanted. I predicted better paths and the ability to paint path plazas for custom decorated areas that people can walk around, kind of like how they have in Planet Zoo. There is no ability for this yet. I will say I haven't seen that many props easily accessible to actually kind of like design areas out yet in the way that we were able to in Cities Skylines 1. Props do seem to exist in game. Like we do have like, for example, like abandoned buildings just like that are on the map already that you can move to places and stuff like that. So I do feel like there are props, but currently no access to that. I also predicted stairs in addition to ramps and the ability to add elevator access to elevated paths. We haven't seen this specifically yet in game, but in a Steam note, the developers mentioned that they will be adding animations for disabled citizen models. So I can't help but wonder if they're going to incorporate other accessibility features for those citizens like elevators or even having stairs as an option, but we'll just have to see. I also predicted passive multiplayer, and the concept was that we could share tourism between friend cities, trade routes, populations can shift to someone else's city if they have better amenities. No, multiplayer does not exist, but we know that citizens can move out. If they are unhappy in our city, they can move to different areas within our city. We can trade services to outside of our map. So for example, if we are making excess electricity, we can sell it, or if we're not making enough water, we can buy it, but you need to literally buy tiles to the edge of the map and then connect those service lines out there, either the pipes or the electricity out there in order to create that trade connection. So trade does exist, and it's actually a really interesting mechanic within the economy because it costs a lot to run on pretty much all of the service buildings. It costs a lot of money to run them, so you kind of have to like think like how much will it cost to run versus how much will it cost to import, you know, additional electricity if we need it. So that's a really interesting mechanic. Whew. So those were all the predictions. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm like a genius? Was there anything that you predicted that you saw come true in the game that I didn't mention? I have been playing Cities Skylines 2 for the last couple of weeks. I would say that I have some feelings of things that I like and things that I really don't like, but I'm still learning the game, quite frankly. So I'm not like confident enough to say publicly how I feel. I feel like I still need to play around with it more so that I can identify exactly like what my issue is with different features. But I will say that the game is it feels very different from Cities Skylines 1. There are so many things that have been improved upon and so many things that look so much nicer. And then there's a lot of things that are such a big learning curve for me and make the game actually feel very different for me. So if you are like wondering, should I get Cities Skylines 2? I'm sorry, I can't answer this question. I feel like it really depends on your play style and also like what sort of things they plan to add to the game. Like, you know, it's going to release really soon, but we don't know what sort of big game-changing updates they're going to be making. And we have to remember with Cities Skylines 1, there were so many things that we did not have at launch that they added, which we can't even like live without anymore, right? So I have pretty good confidence in the development team. I feel like they have really thought out a lot of the things that they did change in Cities Skylines 2, and I feel like they will listen to their fans. They've been doing a great job in the Discord responding to, you know, any like technical issues we've been having and stuff like that. So I do really appreciate the team at Colossal Order and Paradox, and I feel really confident that this will be a great game. So it's just a matter of time and also a matter of getting used to the changes. As soon as y'all get your hands on the game, curious what you think of it, and we'll talk soon. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. There'll be more videos in the future, and I have a bunch on my channel. If you are super into simulation games, that's mostly what I've been covering here. And I'll see you soon. Bye.